All right, welcome to the season premiere of season number 3. Today, I have one of our old guests from season 2, and we have a very, very special guest that I was excited to get on the show. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? What do they say?
Good.
Living the dream.
Right? So let's start out with how did you get started in the fitness industry?
Are we talking to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as far as competing goes,
Sure.
okay. All right. The reason I asked that is because I've been working in the fitness industry too since I was 19. So it started off with when I was younger and I first joined a gym when I was 15 years old, which was as young as you could be to join a gym back then. I started working out at home when I was 11, joined a gym when I was 15, just was obsessed with it right from the start. Had no idea how to eat, but I would spend 3 hours a day in the gym, no problem, every single day, without question. When I was 21, I started to learn how to eat a little bit better. And then when I was 24, somebody I worked with, I was working at a gym. One of the trainers there, she convinced me to do a show. She brought it up to me, and my reaction was no, because I like to eat whatever I wanted. I used to run 10 miles a day just so I could eat a whole pizza if I wanted to. So I was like, no, I want to eat whatever I wanted. So then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. So the first show I decided to do, I dieted for 8 weeks. I only did like a bikini class, so it was like it wasn't anything where I had to put on like a ton of muscle. I just had to drop some body fat and like call it a day, you know. So in 8 weeks, I had this like huge transformation because it was also like the first time that I really dieted strictly. So my body reacted to it super, super fast. Got on stage, got the adrenaline rush. I mean, the organization I did doesn't even exist anymore. So I'm 37. That was when I was like 23, 24. I can't remember my exact age when I started. Um, but so that organization doesn't even exist. But the adrenaline rush and that transformation like hooked me. So then I was like, oh, I can do this. So then the next year I tried again. Um, and then I've just been on and off competing that whole time, different organizations, different categories. Between I started off in bikini, and then I ended up in figure, and now I do women's physique. So I did NPC shows in there too, obviously, and then as of the past, like I would say since 2017, 2016, 2017, I just decided to just do strictly NPC. And then in 2021 is when I ended up getting my pro card in women's physique. And that was the first year I actually had done women's physique. Before that, I was doing figure.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very impressive.
Love it.
So, as far as like the nutrition aspect of it, how hard was it to learn? Because I would imagine not, me being on the other side of the whole fitness thing, I would imagine it'd be kind of difficult at first, wouldn't it?
Yes and no. I mean, I guess if you have the proper guidance, but then at the same token, if you don't have the proper guidance and you don't have any kind of education like leading up to, it can go one way or the other, right? So you could think it has to be this way or it could be this other way, but it's also trial and error because everyone's different. So what reacts, like how my body reacts compared to how her body reacts, your body reacts, it's all different. So you got to just kind of like figure it out as you go. And then on top of it, everyone's goal is different. So you're trying to put on muscle as opposed to just losing weight for bikini or trying to put on muscle for women's physique or whatever it is. That's all going to be different. And again, it's going to be different tailored to you too. So I think a lot of it has to do with guidance and then educating yourself and then also learning your own self at the same time. So trial and error, like I don't want to say experimenting on yourself, but when it comes to food, I mean, you can do that, right? It's not like it's necessarily dangerous unless you're starving yourself. So, or binging, which I think we've all been guilty of that
or
before.
both,
I know.
depending on
I
the
know.
day.
I have.
Yeah, we got join the club. Welcome to Jam Rock.
I like it.
And that's what I think you guys have in common is the whole fitness thing. As far as training and getting in shape and things like that.
Yeah, I think we have that in common. I mean, like looking at her from here, it looks like we have that in common.
And I've seen you. You look, you are amazing. I'm a lot newer to the industry.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people who did the transformation, and then I did a transformation when he found me on social media last year and interviewed me, and then my whole world blew up twice since then, and I went back to almost not fully zero, but pretty much zero, and I had to redo it all again in the past few months. So,
oh man.
But I know that you know what it's like with how many years you've been in it, and I've suffered from all of it, the overthinking, the not, it's about behavioral and having patience with yourself first of all.
Right. And the other cool thing that I noticed about it is like it could be like on a patient's level, it's tough, right? Especially with people who like have these goals and everything. But like, it's just crazy how like one day you wake up and it's like, holy crap, like I'm almost like I'm somewhere now. You're probably never gonna be like where you want to be fully. You're always gonna
That's
find
part
things
of
to
the
improve upon.
bodybuilder. You've had the bodybuilder dysmorphia. It's not enough.
Right. It's not whether
none
it's
of that.
something to do with size, condition, just refining the muscles that you do have, whatever the case may be, you always find something else to improve. But I don't think necessarily that that's a bad thing. It's just now it's different because now I know I can do it. I know I can improve it because look at where I am now compared to where I started. So that's actually one of my favorite.
You've proven it.
Right. And that's actually one of my favorite posts to put on social media is the Transformation Tuesday to show like the start point, or not even necessarily the start point, even like the in between versus like if you just keep on putting in the work and the consistency of it. And I call it being stubborn as fuck. If you just keep on staying at it, you're going to get eventually to where you need to be. You just have to keep on going. And then there's also a lot of sacrifice that comes with that too. Like you have to sacrifice a lot to get to a certain point physique wise, especially when it comes to like putting on muscle and whatnot. So you have to be willing to do those things. And sometimes I remember I would be competing in my 20s, but I was in my 20s, so I still wanted to go out. I would like be the DD for all my friends, but I was still out every single weekend just to like be like part of it, but not drinking and not partying with them.
Right.
So I was just there. I was there supervising basically.
Right. And so were they supportive? Did you find that they would sort of try to push you to, hey, come on, this or that, or were they the opposite?
So you always have that friend that will, and I actually tell my clients this because I own a personal training studio or facility. So like I always tell them that people are going to try to sabotage you all the time. The famous one bite won't kill you, one drink won't kill you. Well, yes, it will. Yes, it will actually. I mean, not like literally, but that's going to like, it ruins the whole discipline end of it. And then what I also noticed is like, one of my favorite things about doing this is to me it's so empowering to be surrounded by all this temptation and not giving into it and like just being somewhere else that most people can't get to. But anyway, to answer your question, my friends, especially like because I was so like dedicated to it, they would say to me like while they were drunk and like in my face, like, oh, and I'm just so impressed by you. I'm so impressed that you could just be here and still have fun and not do what we're doing. So I think that they respected it. So they didn't. It took a little while for people to learn that like you're not going to convince me to break what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're already
but that's
on
also
another
like who
path.
I am. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. I'm an extreme personality. That's what I call it. It's like if I'm in, I'm in. There's no way you're talking me out of it. No way.
And I'm very impressed that at a as young of an age as that, you were in that place. I'm in my 40s, and
Oh wow.
so
Don't
I was
think that.
kind of a piece of shit until later on in life. And it really took me having all of these losses and all of these fails as an adult and a single parent and everything for me to have that mentality. When I literally have told my best friends, hey, between Monday and Thursday, I'm intermittent fasting those days because I have a photo shoot in 10 days, and that's it. You want to come have some diet tea or peace out, whatever. Or
Right.
let me go to sleep.
Right. You don't have to hang out with me, but this is what I'm doing, right?
Right. If you think I'm lame, yes, I am. Have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly. I will be boring by myself.
Right.
Yeah, and see that's what I admire about people in the fitness world is you have the drive to do it. When you set your mind to do something, it's there. There's no deviating from whatever plan you have.
Yep.
It's the
But I
discipline
love
behind it.
that. It feels like a superpower that you can do that, So that's part of the reason I love doing it so much. I love turning it on.
Yeah, it's a superpower,
Yeah.
and it's also for me, especially in the past, in the past several months, it's a therapy. It's the only thing that has kept me from going off the deep end. Is I could go this way, life hits you with a bunch of losses and terrible things, and you could either go that way, which I've done before. It's not that great to pick up pieces after that, or I can just bury myself in the gym and go heavier and heavier each week and not listen to anybody and not care about anything else, and sort of use it as a meditation.
Yeah, absolutely, and it sets you straight.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've used it.
It's like the
It's been
discipline
for
is a
me
meditation.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a mental tool for me as well, for sure. Because I'm not the kind of bodybuilder or competitor rather that is perfect year round. I'm not. Granted, even when I'm saying in my off season, I'm still 90% doing the right thing. But I like to go out on the weekends too and have a burger and have vodka. I do. So I found a balance now that works so I can have the best of both worlds. Because I do love that other stuff too. It's just a matter of always keeping this the main thing.
Right. Prioritizing so that you can allot yourself with certain things, but not go off the deep end or let
for too
anybody else
long.
take you off the deep end.
Sometimes I'll say to myself, okay, you got 24 hours to do whatever you want. Literally whatever you want. But then the next day, I'm right back on it,
Right.
But I obviously, I only do that in an off season. I would never do that during a prep. When I'm in prep, it's 100, no matter what.
Yeah, and you know what? I have not seen anybody sustain their exact on-season physique year round. I currently work at Crunch Fitness. I don't see anyone year round keeping it.
There's people that can do that, and I feel like those people just genetically have that.
Right, shredding season is starting now. Now we're all shredding, but take a look at all of us on January 2nd.
Right. Oh yeah. That was actually the day I started prep, was January 2nd.
Right.
Yeah. I had just got back from Nashville. I had 5 cheat meals before I started prep on that Sunday.
And then you go home and you're like, man, how long will it take to get back? Yeah.
But eventually, then all of a sudden, 2 months has passed and you're in shape again. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to keep that mentality and that goal, and don't lose it.
Right, right. Now that only works like that 2 month thing that I just said if you had like done the work over the years. Like most people can't get in shape, like show shape, in 8 weeks. You have to already have that like foundation.
You already
built,
have to know how to do it, and your body has to be used to it, and you do have to have the muscle memory.
Correct.
You know,
right.
like I had a bunch of losses in the past several months, really bad ones, and I lost it. I had some cortisol stuff. I basically got really skinny. I was eating whatever was available to me. I couldn't. I didn't have a gym by me. I couldn't deal with it. There was vodka. You know, shit hit the fan, and I was at home. And then once I started back on my road again through the healing and recovery and getting back in for season, that's when I actually felt, part of me felt good about myself. I'm down on myself. I'm down on myself. And then I say to myself, wow, I can tell I have muscle memory, which means I really worked my ass off a year ago, because it's only 3 weeks and it's already coming back, you know?
Yep.
So you do have to, it has to become a thing, a real life thing.
Right, right. And yeah, you can't bounce back that quick unless you have that.
Right.
So what is it like getting ready for a competition?
Like day-to-day life, or
As far as like sort of day to day, but like what does your training look like as far as uh, exercising, and then when you're doing certain exercising, I'd imagine it's certain things on certain days, and
yeah, I do like the typical like bodybuilder split, like one muscle group per day. I train. The only thing I trained 2 in 1 day is I'll do arms, bis and tris together, obviously, and then I like to do chest and shoulders together, and only because I love to train shoulders. So I have a shoulder day, but then when I train chest, I throw shoulders in there too. Because chest to me, like if you have implants, I mean your chest, like yes, you can like do it, you can work it and build it so you're like seeing the detailing and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you have fake boobs, so like you're gonna have a chest regardless.
Right.
But it's still like as far as tie-ins and like detailing and whatnot, like you still gotta hit it. So I always throw in chest. I don't ignore any body part, but I always throw in shoulders too because I love training shoulders. So,
Just
but I
shoulder.
typically I do one body part a day. What's that?
I like your. I mean, no, this is nice hearing, because I usually do chest and back day, but I'm now going to try chest and shoulder day.
Right, right. Because think about it, you're kind of working the front head of your delt anyway when you're training chest.
Right.
So doing it the same day,
And
you're
then,
not going to be overtraining. You know,
right.
when you say you did chest and back one day, then you did shoulders the next day. Like your shoulder that you just kind of worked doing chest is now being worked again the next day. Is not having any kind of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I like doing those together.
I'm gonna try. Actually, I was going to do chest and back tomorrow. I'm going to do chest and shoulders. See, I like talking to the veterans, and I'm still learning. So
yeah. Well, there's always something to learn, right? Everyone has something that you can learn from. So,
yep.
So in regards to what it's like to be in the competition, is it similar to what I've heard about the strongman competition, where everybody kind of helps each other out and is there for one another, or is it more competitive?
okay, so that's part of the reason I love competing is because of the atmosphere, like the relationships you build. Bodybuilders like are some of the nicest people that I've ever met. It's just a lot of people are intimidated by them and whatnot. But like if you've been in the industry, you've been around them, you know that they're like some of the easiest people to talk to. Granted, when they get into like their zone of prep, like the day of the show, like everyone's kind of like depleted and tired and hungry, and they're thinking about the burger they're gonna have after the show. They're thinking about winning. They're thinking about a million different things. Um, But overall, like, the atmosphere is great, and we all help each other out. And like, I very rarely hear people saying bad things about other competitors or not willing to help them. Like, I'm sure different organizations are, I'm sure it's probably different from organization to organization. And I have, being someone who's competed in different organizations before I found my home with the IFBB, I have noticed like little differences in it, like how people interact with each other. But for the most part, I would say like 90% are cool. They will help each other, and everyone's good to each other and will help each other out. So, because it's the thing we all have in common, right? And 9 times out of 10, especially when you're competing on a pro level, it's it's everyone's favorite thing to do. It's the thing that's most important to them. So everyone has that in common. So like, even if you have nothing else in common, you're competing against somebody the same day. Like, you guys have that in common. That's what you. It's the connection, you know. And it's the biggest. It's for someone like me. I know it's like my favorite thing on the planet. So if you have that in common with somebody, then at least you have that.
It seems I find that to be very not so much interesting, but I think that's very cool because you go to any other competitive sport, and it's not that way at all. I mean, you might find people who are friends, if you're on different teams or competing against each other, but for the most part, you know,
Well, because
it's not that much.
I think it's because it's still an individual sport, even though you're still all there together. It's still the work that you did. You're the one who has to eat the food. You're the one who has to do the training. You're not like, yes, you're up there competing against people, but it's not like points against, like, it's not like a basketball game where you're trying to steal the ball from each other. You know, it's still like what's going to show on stage is the work you did as an individual leading up to that day. So that's probably the biggest difference.
Right, because
Yeah, and I think that's cool.
you're doing it
Yeah,
for you.
Always.
You're doing it for you, not for a team. It's for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you don't have to worry. Like, the only one that can let you down is yourself.
Right.
In this sport, there's like literally no excuse other than like something that you did. You can't blame it on anybody.
Right.
I mean, you can blame it on, like, some people try to blame coaches or whatever, you know. But like, at the end of the day,
not really. You. We're all coaches.
Yeah. Right. Right. But people will try. You know that they try to blame everybody but themselves. Mm-hmm.
So, within regards to fitness, I think I saw it on your Instagram where you're also a trainer.
Me? Yeah. So I own a personal training facility. So that's actually where I train. So yeah, so I train people. I do online stuff too, but I actually have a physical facility that I take. It's 4,000 square feet, so it's a decent size. One-on-ones. I do meal plans, and then again I do online stuff too.
So I do have something I want to get your perspective on. As also you, Ashley. I've talked to a few people over the past 2 years of doing the podcast, and I've heard people say that things like the Mediterranean diet or the keto diet are good, some are bad, and I know everybody's different to a degree. But I've also heard things like, vegetables are bad for you, which I don't know how that rolls into things. And then
what are bad?
You hear vegetables.
Oh, vegetables. I never.
Yeah, I don't know where that comes from, but I've also had somebody tell me like yeah. I've also had people tell me that the all beef diet or like the carnivore diet is good for certain people too. So I'm just curious where you guys stand on that, being in the industry that you're in.
So my personal opinion is, so I'll give you an example of like when I'm starting off a new client or someone's just doing a meal plan or whatever. I call it like their baseline diet. So I make a balanced diet or plan for them. After I like get a bunch of information from them, like their work schedule, when they train, just like their overall lifestyle, allergies, things like that. If they have any kind of like food that they will not eat, like refuse to. Also like scheduling and whatnot, because like I have a lot of clients that are nurses or work in like the medical field, and they don't get to just take a break and eat whenever they want. But now they're also on their feet for 12 hours a day. You got to figure out a plan for them to at least get something in their body. But all my plans are usually higher in protein. And then the baseline will always start with like moderate fats, moderate carbs, and then you just make adjustments to that according to how their bodies are reacting. So again, like to go back to what I was saying before, it's a matter of trial and error. So not only now it's trial and error, but it's trial and error, but towards somebody else. So you're figuring out somebody else's body and what works for them. So it takes a lot of not a lot of maneuvering, but the problem is like people don't, they're not consistent and don't stick to it 100%. So like I could give you the perfect meal plan for you right off the bat, right? That you could lose 20 pounds if you just did it. And I wouldn't have to take away any carbs, and I wouldn't have to deprive you of anything. But you don't do it. You're telling me that you're doing it, but you're not actually doing it. So then when we're trying to like figure it out, you're not being honest with yourself, let alone not being honest with me. I don't actually know what you're doing behind the scenes. So like I could try to cut your carbs, but what difference is that going to make if you're going to screw up anyway? So that's the problem trying to like figure out other people's stuff. But bringing it back, I always start people off at the baseline, and that's balance with carbs, fats, vegetables, which I never heard them be bad for you, but okay, vegetables, carbs, fats, and proteins, higher on the protein side, because 9 times out of 10, if you're talking to me, you're also working out. So I always keep the protein a little bit higher, and then you just make adjustments from there. But sometimes the balanced diet is the one that works the best because it's also the most sustainable.
Right. Like this all carnivore,
And then
this all keto. First of all, I don't know. I would bet you whatever little pennies I have floating around on this couch in between the scenes that whoever told you vegetables were bad they were on some 2019 fad keto kick where they were like, vegetables have carbs, they have sugar. I bet you that's where you heard that from. But you bring up a real point as a trainer. These people, I shouldn't say that, clients, they need to realize that whenever they lie to themselves, to us, not just to us, to themselves, of what they're doing and putting in their bodies, all they're doing is wasting their money and cheating themselves. That's right. All they're doing. And it's very frustrating because then, we want the results. We want to see them have the results. And if they're coming in once a week, I try to tell people, oh, you only want to come in once a week? That's cool. I guess, that's cool. I made the sale. But now you only want to come in once a week. So I'm going to give you homework. Go check on the system. I don't think they realize we can check in the system. They didn't come in between. Try to tell them, 1 hour a week is not going to get you're not going to be Mark Wahlberg. I'm super sorry.
Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere. Right? You got to be consistent.
Right.
And you got to be, you have to be honest.
You got to be honest.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I've noticed too is the discipline's got to be there. You can get all the help you want, but if you're not willing to do it for you, there's no point in wasting anyone's time, much less wasting any money too.
Now, I will say this, like if somebody is going from not doing anything at all to now they're training with you, not eating perfect, but making better decisions of what they were doing before, they're going to get some sort of result because they went from horrible to something at least a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But that's only going to last so long. So the more you put into it, obviously, the more you're going to get out of it.
Right. Or it will be, they'll have progress, but it will be much slower than how fast they want because they saw they saw a video, they want to look like the video. Well, that won't happen as fast.
Right. And if they accept that, if they know that, because I have clients that are they own what they do. Yeah. I have I call it the confession text. Like, they're not even with me. They'll send me a text. Oh, I really messed up today. I ate this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love the fashion. Like, that's how, like, I love the fact that people do that. Like, they owned it. You know what I mean? Like, do I condone that you had a falafel wrap on a Wednesday afternoon when you should just be eating your real meal? No, but just get back on it, and it's not the end of the world. Just don't screw up the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If I get those texts, that's the thing that I always do. I was like, well, I mean, it's too late now. You already did it, but doesn't mean you have to screw up the rest of the day now. Just go back to your plan. And that's it.
Yeah, because that's what fucks people. They think, oh, well, now I can just go fuck off the rest. I already ruined it. No, it doesn't work that way. Or if they're honest with us, we can say, okay, you fucked up last night and went to Santa Monica Pier and had a funnel cake with your son. So now we're going to put you through we're going to do a fat burn full body HIIT routine day. And we're going to bust out 600 calories at least. At least we're doing our best up for it.
Right. Yeah. Now I'm going to murder you, basically.
Yeah, now you hate me, walk out the door crying.
Right.
So, the only reason I bring that up is around this time last year, I was a lot heavier than I am now. And I ended up going on the carnivore diet, which ended up working for me. I didn't do it for very long, but I think I did it for something crazy like 6 months. And I did lose quite a bit, and I was just always curious to hear different people's perspective on things, just because you see certain things online or you read certain things, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I'm going to do that. And then you deviate from it.
Right. And were you able to keep off all the weight that you lost?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's great.
That's one of the things I was told is like the best meal plan you could follow is the one that's sustainable. Like the one that you don't feel like you're suffering every day. Obviously, when you're in a prep, that's different. You're gonna get to the point where you are suffering, but that's that next level stuff. Like I'm talking about like basic people who are just trying to be fit and trying to be healthy. It's about balance. It's about what's sustainable, what you can do forever, where you don't feel like you're dieting, where you just feel like this is the way you eat.
Right. You said
that's what works.
Carnivore for 6 months?
I did, yeah.
And now are you just doing balanced?
For the most part, I mean, I catch myself slipping every once in a while, but for the most part, I'm eating a lot of healthier things. I mean, I'm eating salads every once in a while. I do eat a lot of eggs and chicken. So it's helped keep it off, and I find that when I eat like that, I'm more energetic too, which is something I wasn't used to.
That's great, yeah. And the 6 months, I would say that's I'm like we were saying for everyone, but I once lost 50 pounds. I was out of whack, maybe 7 years ago, and I got bigger, and I lost almost 50 pounds on keto. But then later on, once I was in the fitness industry, realized that wasn't sustainable, because eventually, like if you would have done the carnivore diet, for example, for 2 years, then your body at that point, in my opinion, most likely, we don't know, everyone's different, would get used to it. And then you're dealing with other problems, and you plateau or deal with other things. Like I've even noticed with intermittent fasting, I'm getting ready for stuff, for being in shape, photo shoots, stuff like that. I noticed something different than I thought a year ago. For me, intermittent fasting works better to shred when I'm doing it maybe for 3 days in a row and then not for 2 days. Because for me, I've noticed my body is not getting too used to it, and then it reacts better when I'm doing it. It's just like you were saying, it's complete trial and error, and it's a personal thing. That's why when you take the exams for NASM and ISSA and everything like that, the answer to that question is no. There is no best diet.
Yeah, right. It's whatever works for you, and whatever you can keep on doing. Right.
And see, I like that aspect of it just because you can't believe what you see anymore. And a lot of the times that you talk to other people that are in not a lot of people, some people who are in the fitness industry are after it for the notoriety, but the true trainers are the ones that are upfront honest with you and go, hey, that's probably not the best thing, but you can try it. And, you might want to try this, or we can do a combination of things.
Yeah. Which is the right way to do it. Because also, are you in California? You're not in California, are you?
I'm in Rhode Island.
You're in Rhode Island. Okay. I
I'm on
don't
the
know
opposite
what the
side.
laws are there, but yeah, okay. In California, I'm a nutrition coach. We're not allowed to be dietitians.
Right. Like, I wouldn't call myself that either.
Yeah, like we're
certain
not allowed
cases
to
yeah.
put you on a diet.
Right. I give people meal plans as part of my package with the training that I sell them.
Yeah, that's nutrition. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a whole thing there. Like if you're dealing with someone with a diabetic or a morbidly obese person and they need to be put on a specific diet, like there's this stupid verbiage. It's not stupid, but it's like you got to be careful and say, what he was saying. Well, in my opinion, we could try this, but you just got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know
exactly
out there that can say something.
Right. Yeah, liability reasons.
Right.
So as far as competitions and things like that, I'm sorry we got off track a little bit.
I feel like there's a lot of ADD in this
What?
podcast between me and you.
Sorry.
Ash.
Right?
It's all good.
No.
We're following.
So what competitions do you have coming up? And I do want to ask, what was your favorite competition that you've been a part of?
Okay, so that's tough. So, all right. So I just did the New York Pro last weekend. I have the Toronto Pro coming up on June 4th. So in like 8-9 days, whatever that is. But now I've been in prep since January 2nd, so don't ask me to count days. I'm just in prep, like it's been my life for the past 6 months. But okay, so there's something to be said about the first time you ever step on a pro stage, which for me was last year. But my prep last year didn't go that well, so I wasn't happy with like the way I looked. I wasn't like there was a lot of personal things going on in my life. And it just wasn't a good prep. So I definitely didn't come in my best. But it was also last year was also a good way for me to see like what I looked like next to pros and what I needed to work on. So this past weekend at the New York Pro, that I loved it because to me this is the best I ever looked. It's not like the best placement in the world that I got, but it didn't matter to me because I loved my presentation, I loved my package, the whole atmosphere was great, and then you're going up against the best in the world. I mean, the Miss Olympia did the show. I mean, she won obviously because she's Miss Olympia, but like to go against the best in the world, there's something to be said about that. But I will never forget the moment when I just won my first overall as an amateur. It was first off, I had to take off 2018, 2018, 2000. I competed in 2018 in figure at an NPC show in Connecticut. And then after that, I was like, I just want to do women's physique. So I'm going to take a year off so I can put on some more muscle and try women's physique because that's really what I wanted to do. I'm 5'11". I don't want to be in heels on stage. I love women's physique. Dana Lynn Bailey, Shanique Grant, like those were perfect to me. I love that look. So that was always what I aspired to. So 2018, I competed. I decided to take a year off, so I was going to take off 2019, which I did. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back at it in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020, and that was COVID. They canceled every amateur show. but I had already started dieting. I started dieting at the beginning of December of 2019. So I was planning on doing like an early spring show, like in April. Well, COVID, everything got shut down as of mid-March. So now they're postponing shows, not technically canceling, just postponing, pushing things out. So I just kept on prepping that entire time. By the time they canceled the show that I was going to do for the 5th time, I was like, scratch it for this year. Just like whatever. So that was sometime like towards the summer. So I was forced basically to take 2 years off. So then I decided to try again in 2021 because now COVID thing was calming down. I had hired a different coach. It was Shelby Starnes. I hired Shelby Starnes at the beginning of 2021. We started working together. My body reacted so quick. I don't know if it was from the time off or whatever, or just like a different approach. I'm not sure what it was. But that was when I started to. So that was my first year of Women's Physique. So I did my first show in June, the beginning of June. I did the Atlantic States in New York, which is a very big show. And now keep in mind that the shows are like double the amount of competitors because everyone had to take 2020 off. So now everyone's coming back in 2021. So that feeling when I took that overall in that first show at a big show in New York, that I still can remember that feeling. I ran off the stage after like the comparisons, and I knew a bunch of the people backstage, and I was like hopping around like a lunatic because I knew that I just like killed it, and it was the best feeling ever. So I'll never forget that. But then obviously when I won my pro card, that was a pretty big deal too. The worst part about that, though, I'll tell you this really quick, is the show got done so late, so they had moved the Teaneck, New Jersey national show, Team Universe, or the Universe show. They moved it down to South Carolina to accommodate like the restrictions and whatnot. The show went for so late that by the time I got out, even McDonald's was closed. I couldn't even go get a celebration. I couldn't even have a celebration meal. So my celebration meal was me going back to the hotel room, eating rice cakes and peanut butter, and like a cookie that it gave out like backstage. But I was so happy I won my pro card, I didn't even give a shit. So
I love it.
Anyway, see how I got sidetracked? That's the ADD I'm talking about.
I love your story with the rice cakes and the peanut butter. Like I felt that.
Yeah. My best friend was with me. He was like more mad about that I couldn't have a meal than I was. I was like, dude, I just won my pro card. I don't care if the earth blows up.
Did you have a makeup meal and like drink the next day?
Oh yeah, we did like a food tour on the way home because we drove down to South Carolina, so we drove back to Rhode Island, which is not a short distance.
Not
so it's like
close.
it's not close. So yeah, we stopped for breakfast, we stopped for burgers. Yeah, we did the tour on the way home.
Good.
Yeah. It was good stuff. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, so 2021 was a really fun year for competing for me. 2022 wasn't the best, but this year I feel like it was redeemed from last year. Last year was like there was a lot of different issues going on that I just was not my best mentally, physically. It just wasn't. But this year, like I love the package that I brought, and to be on the New York Pro stage, like loving the way that you look, that's amazing.
See, that's awesome. Just to hear your story, and then have Ashley here too, just to get different sides of things. Just because everyone is different, everybody's got a little bit different of a perspective on things, but the goal, for no matter who you are, in the fitness world, seems like it's the same. Just to try to help one person at a time achieve whatever goals they may have.
It's getting dark in here. Hold on, I'm gonna just try to find a light because it's getting dark.
Yeah, pretty much. Essentially, yes. It's to help other people and to, sometimes it feels nice to be a role model for someone else. At the same time, it can be pressure when things aren't perfect for us in our life. But it's all a learning process, and we all do have the same goal.
Yeah. What's amazing to me is like when I get messages from people, whether it's strange, like people just on Instagram or my friends or whatever, they're people are watching. And like when you're in prep or when you're just like living the lifestyle, you're just living the lifestyle because you love it. You're not even thinking twice about it. You're not realizing all these people are like watching you or actually inspired by you. And then when I get these messages, like it almost makes me like want to cry. It's like, wow. I was like, I didn't even realize I was doing that for you. I was just doing it because I would be doing it regardless. But they're watching and they're inspired by you. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and when I started doing this podcast, it was one of those things where you know I looked at things differently than I do now, as far as seeing things from a different perspective or a different lens, and and being able to see the other side of the coin of where somebody else is coming from, even with simple things, simple advice or advice that is meant to help me in some way. You're able to see and kind of take from each person that you meet a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and make it work to you, to your advantage.
Yeah, well, I think that's how a lot of us learn too that are in the industry is that you probably make it a point to talk to and take advice from the people that you, I don't want to say just respect, but like the people that the proof is in the pudding. Like they've competed successfully as a pro, or they have coached people like that are impressive, or whatever the case may be. Whatever you can learn or pick from like each person, like you're gonna get something out of somebody. You're gonna, and again, you got to figure out what works for you.
Exactly, and I think that's important. Especially in the society we have now, where there's so much different body shaming going on, and people just feeling uncomfortable with who they are as a person. And I think a lot of people nowadays are too worried about what the person next to them thinks about them versus what they feel and think about themselves, which is more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, that's why I love talking to people like you guys, because it's inspiring to a degree for me, but with the people that listen to these shows, you never know when you're going to catch that one person who's either in a bad spot or who's trying to figure out a way to better themselves in some form.
Right.
All right. Absolutely. I think that I've noticed that it's almost this is I don't even really know. I'm gonna get tongue tied trying to even word this. What you're saying about how everybody's obsessed with the images of other people. I've noticed that it's starting to be at least an attempted trend to steer away from that. And that is why I think I've noticed more women who have been, they want the Kardashian fake ass. I shouldn't name drop, or you know what I mean. They want this just like back in the 90s. They want the Kate Moss. They want to look like a toothpick wavering in the wind. It seems like they've started to steer away from that now, and strength it has become more of a big thing because it's actually it's become more attractive to people inside and out. So I have noticed that the trends are starting to try to change a little bit and promote people doing things for themselves. You know, I used to like because I've been everything. I've been overweight and I've been underweight, a skinny waif, and I've had men commenting on shit once I got muscles. Oh, I liked you better when you had this or that, and or when I don't want a woman with more shoulders than me, and it comes to the point when you really get into it and love yourself and what you're doing to your own strength and body, and how you almost feel your age reversing the opposite way to being younger. And for the first time as a woman, you look back at that guy and you say, good, bye.
Right.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
you don't like that look? You don't want it to look like I can kick your ass? Bye. Peace.
Right. If you're afraid of it, I don't want anything to do with you anyway.
Right. So that's liberating, right? It's liberating.
You're too weak-minded for me. I don't want nothing to do with it.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's something I had to put up on if I do like a transformation post of like beginning or whatever. I was never like I've had my shape has changed a lot, and I go up and down in weight. As a competitor, you automatically go up and down in weight, especially as someone who's 5'11", 20 to 30 pounds swing every year.
Yeah.
But because now it's like a lot of muscle built up too, it always looks better every year when you put body fat on, because now at least you keep your shape, right?
Right.
But in the beginning, it's not like that. So one of the things that I always make sure that I try to say every time I put up like a transformation post of myself is I'm not hating on either side. Like, I'm not making fun of myself before. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just showing you that this is where I started and this is where I am now and what you can achieve if you just stick with it and are dedicated to it. Right. That's like my whole point behind it.
The work
but both of the people I love,
yeah,
I love both of them. Even if I was not crazy about the way I looked before, it was all part of the journey. So how can I hate on it?
Right.
Because I'm who I am now and where I am now, being that person before. So you have to love it all, right? Every single part of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all part of growing as a person. You will evolve over a period of time, whether it's for the good or for the bad. Things will change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. It's up to you how you want to direct it.
Exactly.
Again, you have no one to blame except for yourself. It's all yourself.
Exactly. The only person that can create your future is you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that the perspective that you have on that is very, very mind opening as far as, you said it earlier, you see these people who are in phenomenal shape and you just go, I'm not going to mess with them. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to talk to them. But they forget that number one, you put in the hard work, and most people don't see the success until you've achieved that hard work. They don't know what goes into it. And then, you get to meet people like yourself and like Ashley, who are just the nicest people in the world. At least I think so, just in the small interaction. And it's almost like, you see a different side of what the fitness world is. It's not demonic in any way. It's not somebody who's just after your wallet. They're trying to show you the best way to do things, even if that's, through doing the shows and competitions that you do. It's to show you put in the work. This is what you can achieve. You don't have to necessarily do what I do, but you can get healthy.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to go to this extreme. Like, you don't have to take it to this level, but you can do a part of it to get to a certain level, right? It just doesn't have to be to this crazy thing.
100%.
Yeah, and it's just like, I work in automotive. Not everybody can do what I do. Not everybody wants to do what I do. And it's the same thing for you guys, doing competitions. Not everybody wants to do that, but I haven't met a person, one, myself included, that wouldn't like to be in better shape. But at the same point, you also have the people who are in phenomenal shape already and still go, well, I'm way out of shape. And, somebody like myself can look at somebody and hear that. It does put thoughts in your head of, well, if they don't think they're good enough, what does that say about me?
Right. Right. Well, that's something else that I have to clarify to people too. Like when I'm talking to clients or whatever on during prep, because they get curious, so they ask a lot of questions, right? Off season versus prep. I always have to say when I get fatter, but then I clarify and go just more body fat. I'm like, I'm not calling myself fat when I'm in my off season just because I'm 20 pounds heavier. I'm just have more body fat than I do during prep because I'm in prep. I'm not hating. I always clarify that I'm not talking bad about myself because I don't want them to think bad about themselves just because they're at a certain point. So I always clarify that to them. You know, it does make a difference. Because, you know, like when someone who's skinny goes, oh, I'm so fat. Everyone's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I don't.
Yeah.
Which some people just do that for attention. I realize that. But like when I'm saying it, my intention is just to try to like explain to them the two different worlds. You know, like what I go through, because it makes them curious. Because it's amazing to people, like the transformation. It's like, wow, I started with some of my clients because I just moved my studio. I had a studio in another part of Rhode Island. I just moved over here to this other studio in Greenville, which I was able to take most of my clients with me, but I also picked up brand new people. I started my prep when I moved to that new location. So they only knew me at my start point. And now it's June. Now I'm getting on stage and I'm like, I don't know what my body fat is, but like I'm lean. I look like a different person.
You're at the point.
So like those people.
Check your body fat.
Was that?
You're at the point where you don't really have to check your body fat. Like you know where you're at.
Nah.
Right.
Nah. It's low.
Right.
When it hurts my butt bones to sit on a seat that's cushioned, you're lean.
Right.
You're lean.
Well, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. It's been a pleasure to have you on and to have Ashley as the co-host for this one, because it's one of the things that I enjoy, is just meeting new people, talking to people, just about anything. I mean, you know, I'll have a conversation with anybody. I don't care, as long as we have that camaraderie and we can have just general great conversation without demeaning anybody, which is great. You don't have that much now.
Yeah, right. Let's be positive, people. No need for the hate, right?
Yes, exactly.
I 100% really appreciate being brought on here and getting to meet this beautiful woman, and then finally getting to be back on the show with you. It's been about a year. I'm sorry for my little disappearance. I'm back. Had a little hiatus.
Hey, we all go through it. We all have bad days and good days,
Bad months and years.
But it's been a real pleasure, and hopefully we can do it again sometime in the future. And it sounds like with the way things are going for you, things are going good, and hopefully things keep going that direction.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for having me on. It was fun.
Absolutely, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.